Hello everybody, my name is 711 and welcome to Week 6 of the Pokemon Battle Association Season 9. This week we are battling Noah, a good friend of mine, and he dropped Tapu Koko and he dropped Hawlucha whenever he picked up this team for a dropping coach. And so yeah, I get Noah's the reason why I have this formidable hyper offense here. So we have Eco Revenge, we have Olmo hiding behind Steven, we have Blackhawk, Carlos, and Bronson. And then we have, on his side of the field, we have Landorus, which you'll see later in the video ends up being Scarfed. We see Rotom, which ends up being Specs. Leftovers, Tyranitar. I don't know what Celebi was. We have a Mega Altaria and we have a Crobat. Don't know what item Crobat is. Probably choiced in some fashion. But yeah, this is a pretty interesting team. I want a little bit of chip damage on Tyranitar, and I want some chip on Celebes before I can actually sweep. And Rotom is actually fairly bulky as well, so that makes things kind of difficult. So I want to break down this Rotom a bit before either Zygarde or Hawlucha start setting up. But yeah, let's hop into this battle, why don't we? So I lead off with my usual lead, Steven, and I know that I cannot Toxic this Crobat, so I decide to go for the Iron Head in case it stayed in and went for like a Super Fang. That was kind of what I was expecting, and so I went for Iron Head on that Rotom. So Rotom goes for the Volt Switch, and that does a lot of damage, and I went for the Toxic there. That did not work, so I clicked Stealth Rock on this turn because I want Steven to Toxic stuff, and I want him to Stealth Rock on the field. And that's pretty much all I really want here, and so I'm just trying to get at least a little bit of that correct. So there's the Shucca Berry that was stolen. That makes things pretty scary because Shucca could actually keep Zygarde at bay if Rotom has Hidden Power Ice. So that makes things kind of scary. So we see a trick here, and he gave Steven Choice Specs, and I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay with that. But, the scary thing is that Rotom now has the has the Shucca Berry. But Rotom is getting weakened a little bit. Steven did put Stealth Rock down, did Toxic Rotom, and so I'm feeling a little happy here. So I decided to switch into Zygarde here, a pretty bold play, but I thought he was going to Volt Switch, and I did predict that correctly. So that was nice. I switch into Bronson here as he makes a quick switch into Crobat. Bronson is just a 4-move bulky Pokemon, so I went for Power Gem on this Crobat in case he'd go for an X-Scissor or a Super Fang, and that's kind of what I was predicting. So that did not happen, and there's a Power Gem on Tyranitar. So he actually goes for Dragon Dance. Dragon Dance Tyranitar, that's kind of interesting. So here's a Flash Cannon, does some good damage, and I'm hoping for a Crunch because I do have a Shucca Berry, but no, he goes for Stone Edge instead, and down goes Bronson. So I go into Blackhawk here. Now I actually don't have any priority on my team except for Extreme Speed Zygarde, and I was kind of scared of Tyranitar having Ice Punch. So with all things considered, I did not go into Zygarde, and that forced me to try to set up with Hawlucha early on. I did sack Steven here, assuming that Tyranitar would go for Earthquake on the Hawlucha, and so Hawlucha comes in here for free, and I get a nice free Drain Punch. Now, if I had Bulk Up, that could be a different story, but I did not have bulk up, unfortunately. I was a Swords Dance set. So here's Rotom here, and now here I'm at a 50-50. Do I Swords Dance in front of this Rotom, or do I go for damage? I said, you know what, it's better that I go for damage in case, you know, Thunderbolt does not, Thunderbolts definitely knocks me out. Volt Switch has a chance to knock me out. So I decided to go for damage here, and he did not go for an electric move, he went for Will-O-Wisp. So, okay. Carlos is now burned, that's unfortunate. At this point, do I Swords Dance here, or do I Drain Punch? I Drain Punched. So I'm kind of scared here, you know, Celebi can just knock me out with a Psychic or something. So I decide here to just sack off Carlos and go for the Acrobatics. So Acrobatics still does a fair chunk, does a third, and here's a Giga Drain, so no Psychic move. I said, okay, if he has no Psychic move, then I'm going to Swords Dance. Now, boy, would it have been nice if I had Roost, but oh well. So here's a Giga Drain, and you know, if I had Roost, then I could have just roosted, Swords Dance, Roost, Swords Dance, until I'd be able to win the game like that. So here's a critical hit Giga Drain. Did not matter in the long run, because after that Swords Dance, Acrobatics is able to knock out Celebi, and we have a double down. I don't like these double downs at all. I go into Eco Revenge here, and here's a Crobat, and so I'm calcing, and Extreme Speed does a maximum of 54% whenever it's +1. So Crobat could go for U-turn, and then would have to take Stealth Rock damage later. Crobat could go for Brave Bird, and then the recoil could put me in a much better position. In fact, that's kind of what I ended up doing. Worst case scenario is I would have a Dragon Dance, and then I'd have a roll to risk. But that was not the case, so I got to Extreme Speed, and then he brings in Altaria. And Altaria, I decide to just bop it with 1,000 arrows. That's adamant damage, not going to do enough, and there's a Hyper Voice. So I'm not in a bad position per se right now, because I have Tapu Koko, which is obviously faster, and everything is neutral to Dazzling Gleam. So Dazzling Gleam, neutral or super effective. So down goes that. And so here's the interesting showdown that was always meant to be. This is what I prepared for. Blackhawk does have the Shucka Berry, and so here's how this works. Landorus, in my mind, is either Scarfed, or it is Yache Berry for the Hidden Power Ice. It has to be one of those two. It has to be. So what are my options here? If I'm Shucka and he's Yache, then we both live a hit and I'm still faster and knock it out next turn. Or Landorus is Scarfed, I still live a hit, and then Landorus does not have the Yache Berry to knock out, to take a hit from the Hidden Power Ice. So this was a win-win scenario here for me to have the Shucka Berry. There's an Earthquake. He was faster. I got to Hidden Power, and down goes a Landorus. And then that's the game, because there's Rotom, and down goes Rotom, and that is the game. Now, if there was a critical hit Earthquake, or something where Blackhawk took damage prior and Blackhawk went down, then Vaporeon was max defensive, Ulmo was max defensive. It didn't have Ice Beam, but it did have Scald, and that would do quite a number. I think base 110, special attack, if not like base 90, so Scald is still doing a lot of damage. their stealth rock damage on the Landorus already, and Ulmo would be able to knock out the Landorus, and then Rotom has, as you saw, only 4% left of its health, and to protect would mean that the Toxic knocks it out. So that was a great game, Noah. Relatively close, not super close, but you know, Blackhawk was able to pull out a late game sweep. I was able to scare you a bit with Hawlucha, and then Zygarde came in and knocked out 1.5 Pokemon, and that led for Tapu Koko to survive and just clean up late game. Now, interestingly, like I said before, in the last week, I made the mistake in sacking Tapu Koko in my battle against Bryo. But I learned from my mistakes, and I did not sack off Blackhawk to the Tyranitar. I didn't even calc if Blackhawk was faster than Tyranitar anyway, but I knew that Tyranitar could probably take a hit anyway because of sand and such. So there you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, then like this video, comment on this video, share it with your friends, and click subscribe if you haven't already. And on that note, guys, I will see you all later. Peace.